Welcome back again for another video. It's been a couple of days without video, but today I have what should be an amazing set of two games between JllllllllllK, who are playing Green Terran, and the music. Introduction music, everybody loves introduction music as always. But introduction music aside, let's get into the game itself. Because, as I mentioned, we have JllllllllK here on the middle left of the map. He's playing the Green Terran. He's up against Suddenwang, who's playing the Blue Protoss. Now, you might be wondering, who in God's name are these two players? Well, Suddenwang is none other than the player 458, who was featured on my channel a couple of times in the past, and who is quite famous in Korea, because he played a lot of games against Jllllllllll and Flash. He played into the hundreds of games against Flash, and they were all streamed. And you can all find them back on Flash's YouTube channel if you go into the search option 458, search for 458, and you get a lot of results. Some of them have a lot of views. I think some of them have 600,000 views or 700,000 views. So the Suddenwang guy, he's quite famous in the Korean Starcraft fastest map community, or just Korean Starcraft community, as long as they watch Flash, or Brain God, for that matter, or Lucky Black, or, well, pretty much any of the fastest map streamers in Korea. And JllllllllK is known as Minchul, or Park Minchul, or #겐세이박. He's featured on my channel a couple of times before, and I just, a couple of days ago, I got the entire autosave file of 458. And there are a lot of replays against very good players right in there. I got a couple of Flash replays, a couple of Jllllllllll replays, and a lot of Minchul, #겐세이박, a couple of Brain God replays as well. So I've got a lot of new stuff that is very good, high-level stuff that I'm going to be casting over the next couple of weeks. And I decided to focus on specific players for this week. So this week I'm going to showcase, hopefully, Minchul or #겐세이박, player not that well known in the Western fastest map community, or the West whatsoever. But in Korea he's quite well known. He streams to about 400 players at a time, or 200 players, somewhere in between. But he plays a lot with all the good players on fastest, Brain God. He played a lot of games with Mong. I even think he got along best with Mong during the time that Mong streamed fastest map and played fastest map before he went into military service. But yeah, I'm planning on showcasing this guy because he's very solid, and he's considered to be the one guy who can kind of keep up with Brain God, which in itself is a special feat, because Brain God's 1 vs 1 prowess is absolutely off the charts. Like, it's no wonder that Brain God absolutely destroyed StarCraft W during his time at StarCraft World. But all that aside, I've been talking for way too much. It's already 3 minutes into the game, and to my luck, nothing has happened. And something is about to happen right here, right now. Suddenwang goes for the attack, but the attack doesn't really yield much fruit. Not much going on here. Killed a couple of Marines, but eventually the Zealot get pushed away, chased around, back to the choke here that Suddenwang built himself to keep those Marines out. And Minchul is making barracks here on the top side of his base, trying to keep them out of the vision so that in the case Suddenwang made it in, there'd be 2 barracks here on the top side. Maybe he's making them to hover them over the walls. I'm not entirely sure what the idea here is, but he's probably going for a 5 barrack build. I mean, he's got 5 barracks there, so it has to be a 5 barrack build. Making Marines there on the top side. He's got medics has finished up. He's got stim upgrade on the way. But Suddenwang is preparing himself for a massive Marine attack in the front, because he's adding on 3 more cannons. 2 more cannons. And he's going for robotic facility there inside of his base. He's going for the classic tech build. Although he's going for a double robotic facility right at the bat. No Citadel off a dune. Sometimes you see people going for robotic facility and then a Citadel off a dune and then another robotics facility. But Suddenwang is not doing that this time around. That's one of the things I like about 458. aka Suddenwang. He's a very diverse player, right? Zealots moving in between those Marines. Marines get cut out in the middle of the map there, and a couple of them die. 5 of them manage to retreat back to base. They'll meet up with more Marines and those medics as well. So he'll be able to fight back, given that he stims in. He's got Ranger upgrade on the way as well, so he's definitely planning on sieging this front side here. Chasing those Zealots all the way across the map. Zealots trying to buy himself some time. He goes back in because the medics are lagging behind, but the medics now meeting up with the Marines, so that means that those Zealots are going to try to run back to base, but Minchul manages to stim and cut off the escape path, which now gives him a shot at going for the choke there. But there's 5 cannons there at the choke and 2 Zealots. This might not be enough Marines, but he's spreading those Marines out, making sure that all those Marines get the fire on those cannons at the same time. And he goes in, stims his Marines in. But now the Zealots are attacking as well. A lot of those Marines are dying rather quick, but he takes down the first cannon. He's going to go for the second cannon, but the second cannon is going to cost him most of his Marines. Goes for the third one, actually. But managed to take the third one down. The 2 are left standing. 5 Marines have regrouped with those medics. Medic went down, but pretty much all of his mass has gone down now, which will make this coming attack from 458 pretty hard to deal with, because there's 2 Reavers in there. Thanks to the 2 barracks he added on, he can make a lot of Marines try and go for the push. By the time those Marines arrive at the scene, these 2 cannons will have been finished. He's gonna go for it. He's gonna try to at least deny those 2 cannons from finishing. But he's not gonna gain all that much of an advantage here. He's trying it. He's trying to push it. He's trying to brute force it, but the brute force is not working out in his favor whatsoever, and it winds up with him just retreating back to base. Units still being hotkeyed into Suddenwang's cannons there. 2 Reavers inside that shuttle. Shuttle is trying to go around the map, trying to find an opening here on the bottom side, most likely. Maybe he's going for the front side so he can micro, but microing on the front side is very risky. Minchul knows that the shuttle is trying to go over the bottom side of the map, because he saw it leaving over the bottom side of the base, and he managed to catch it out actually. And he fires on it just in time before it escapes over the hill. Great mental awareness from Minchul, knowing exactly where that shuttle was going after he saw it leave the base here while he was retreating. So that's some great awareness, and being able to use that information to his best advantage. He catches a Zealot out here on the middle of the map. He's now adding on starports. Made 2 factories, got siege mode on the way. Only added a single command center, so his SCV count isn't as high as it could have been, but he's been trying to get the most out of his build as he did it. Now he's trying to adapt really quickly. He's going to make raids so he can intercept those shuttles. Marines still out there on the middle of the map. Zealot is leaving the base, trying to scout the entrance. A couple of Marines are left here behind. What's inside the shuttle is a Reaver, 2 Zealots. He runs in. Minchul doesn't respond. This means that Suddenwang has the opportunity to get some great shots off on those SCVs. He gets a single side down. It's 7 kills. He tries to get the second side down, but he misses the target. And now those SCVs are splitting up. The Scarab manages to make it over the wall, but it only kills a couple of SCVs. 2 SCVs, in fact, just 2. So no serious damage here, other than losing 9 SCVs, which is actually just about enough for 458. Means he slows down Minchul just enough for that drop to be entirely worth it. Plus you kill a couple of bio there, which is also worth it, but not. Ideally, you would of course kill all of the SCVs on the minerals there. He had the chance, but he picked the wrong side. If he had picked the other side, he could have ended the game there, but it's kind of like a gamble, because you never know whether the most are going to be on this side or on the other side. It's kind of a gamble, so it's kind of gambling, like you either click the right side or the wrong side. Or in some cases, they're both equally distributed on either sides, in which case, you get the same results no matter where you click. But in this case, only 9. But he's taking a sweet time here. He's not going for the very fast follow-up drop, because he knows that Minchul is preparing himself quite well, getting vision all around the sides of the base, even getting vision here, spreading all these units out all across the map, making sure he has a buffer zone so he can respond in time for these raids to go and intercept. But he scanned those shuttles. I mean, the scan duration already ended, but he scanned those shuttles, so he knows the shuttles were leaving over the top side here, over the top side of 12. Managed to intercept 2 shuttles. 2 shuttles have gone down. The Mun shuttle manages to retreat. Zealot's standing here in the front. Zealot's going in, trying to stop that wall from finishing. Manages to snipe the SCV, but definitely not worth it because he lost 4 of those 8 zealots that he had there in the front. Traded for a single SCV. On the upside, he does manage to delay the wall that Minchul was trying to build there. Now Minchul's gonna have to pull up another SCV, pull it to the front, which buys 4/8 some time to at least maybe get in there if he plans on doing so. He doesn't plan on doing so, which that's kind of... I'm doubting whether that was worth it, but the skill of it was so small that it doesn't make much of a difference. Managed to fly in over the top side of the base. Raids are moving, but raids are all the way on the bottom side of the map. Manages to unload, but a great dodge here from Minchul. No storms coming out. Minchul very quickly manages to snipe those Templars. Ooh, but there's a Reaver out. The Reaver doesn't get a shot off. Ooh, very close. Everything landed there right within the range of those SCVs. The SCVs got pulled off the minerals here to the bottom side of the map, where you place the Marine for the drop dodge. That's one of the biggest strengths that Minchul has, is he actually doesn't fuck around when he's going for the drop dodges. He drop dodges every single time. He doesn't risk it. Doesn't take risks, but he's taking those risks that we've seen in many videos in the past is exactly where it goes wrong. But he's one of those players who doesn't take risks, plays it very safe. Sometimes he can turn into slow games when he's playing Terran. Kind of slow games because he plays it so safe. But much like how Flash played in his last ASL season, Flash also played it very safe and only moved out exactly when he knew it was safe to go. Minchul is kind of the same version of that player, but on fastest map. A little lower APM, but still very high APM in the 300s. Right, Armory's coming down, preparing for those tank upgrades, maybe air upgrades as well, once he starts throwing down another set of Armories. And 458 has been going for a drop abuse into carrier build as of the last couple of months. And I'll admit, I prefer to see his very heavy shuttle drop style. But his carrier style is honestly also very strong, and if you manage to keep killing the SCVs and keep the Terran small with all those drops, which he is usually very good at hitting, but he hasn't really had much luck hitting his drops this time around, but this time his drop coming over the front side. Raids are displaced, which means there's no raids to intercept those shuttles. Shuttles unloading all around the main command center, but he manages to dodge those drops to great effect. Great dodges there. He manages to keep pretty much all of his SCVs alive, even though he got stormed 4 or 5 times there. So great SCV control from Minchul. Raids eventually make it back to the base, take down the shuttles. Minchul stays alive. He's got a bit of a floating bank there, but he's managing. He's holding in there. Carriers on the way. Got wait. He's still not making carriers, but he did finish the interceptor upgrade. But he's still planning on trying to deal a little bit more damage with the drops, perhaps with a frontal attack, because if he can finish it before he has to go for carriers, that's always in favor of the protoss. The quicker the game, the better. But now, this time he gets cut out. All the Templars get loaded up too far away to storm on those SCVs. The front side here also, not much is getting done there. 458 having no success whatsoever this entire game. And it's all pretty much been by the breath of a hair. Like, slightly differently placed storms, or even different target selection with those Reavers that he dropped next to the minerals for Minchul could have yielded entirely different results and could have changed the entire trajectory of this game quite wildly. But there comes another drop. This time he's just flying over the front. And this time there's no scan for Minchul. So Minchul is not aware of the fact that those shuttles are flying over the front. And once again, his anti-air, his anti-shuttle defensive system is not located in the right spot. But he does manage to take down those shuttles with those Valkyries and intercepting the shuttles with those Marines target firing on the shuttles. No Templars within the range of the SCVs once again. Minchul's holding out really well. Even though his base looks like a mess, his playstyle has been looking like a mess. Like, every single time you think those raids are displaced on the map, and just manages to pull through and take down the shuttles regardless. This time he split up the Corsairs, split up the shuttles. Marines get taken care of the Corsairs. Now the shuttles are coming in from the bottom side, but he has to unload because those Valkyries and Marines have been relocated with the help of Stim. He managed to unload, but all the SCVs have already pulled off the minerals. Not joking around, once again, secures his workers. one of his greatest strengths, as I've mentioned many times before. But the carriers are now finishing up for 458. 458 has 5 cannons, 5 cannons. 4 carriers finished up. 5th one there on the way. He's going to load up another drop, which is going to fly in with the under the protection of those interceptors from those carriers. His carrier upgrades are lagging behind just a little bit, but they are on the way. Yeah, he's on 0, 1. But both his carrier upgrades are reaching level 2. I'm actually not too sure if he's on level 2 for his level 1 for his weapon, air weapons. We just have to wait and see whether that's the case or not. Tanks are on 0, 1. He's got both weapon upgrades for ship and ground on the way. No 3rd and 4th armory, but both 3rd and 4th armory are on the way, just as I mentioned it. Adding on more factories now as well. He's going to try to fly this drop in. He did scan, but he saw nothing of value for the scan. But these raids happen to be in the right location. And the Valkyries are also on the top side of the base, so if he reacts quick enough, he can take down those shuttles before they can even unload anything of threat. Oh, he managed to unload the Templar, but the Templar gets a storm, but the Templar only kills, even kills 20. Well, 15. They killed 15 SCVs there, which is quite big. But not big enough, of course, because he's got 4 command centers. 4 command centers reproducing those SCVs very quick. And honestly, he doesn't even need more SCVs because he's quite rich. Considering he already is completely maxed out. So he only has to add a couple of SCVs. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know how many SCVs he lost. Precisely. But a massive amount of carriers flying in over the top side of the map. Shuttle has been loaded. No, the shuttle is empty. Alright, let's see what upgrade. Otherwise, in 1, 2, 1. For his air upgrades, whereas Minchul is now on still on 0, 0, but he's going to be hitting 0, 1 very soon. And he's got the armor upgrades on the way as well. But he gets shuttle because, well, why not? A lot of Corsairs here. Corsairs are amazing when you want to take down those Valkyries and those raids. 458 goes in. You never see this in the West, Corsairs in PvT, but they are actually really amazing against raids and Valkyries. Like now, you see them going in. And those Valkyries are going to go down very quickly to the Corsairs. So if you split the Corsairs up and prevent them from taking all the AoE damage, they take them down very quickly. And you can even throw down disruption webs as well. Alright, he's going for the main command center. The main command center is losing damage, losing HP very quickly. And he takes it down. And he's going to fly out with the guerrilla warfare, going back to the side there. Prevent his carry from taking too much damage. The Corsairs all went down though. The Corsairs are very quickly replaced. You can see 7 are already on the way. He's even making disruption web now as we speak. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, so that's kind of a lucky streak for me. Predicting all these little things that he's doing with pure luck, or is it knowledge? I'm not too sure. But nonetheless, taking out static defense on the side of the base there. He's trying to get the most out of it, while Minchul is trying to recover from this hemorrhage in here. Because he's really bleeding, he's really hurting. This ain't a fun time for my man, Minchul Park. Minchul Park is holding on. Hanging on. And this one is going to get sacrificed because he only got 4 HP left and 20 shield. Doesn't want that. Not very useful. Going to distract there on the top side while he's going to fly in over the bottom side. Alright, he got spotted there. The carrier still alive. Just harassing a little bit. Valkyrie's flying in. He's going to try to intercept all this air mass here. Beautifully stacked up all those carriers. Corsairs in the mix as well. It's actually a lot of Corsairs. More than 20 Corsairs or so. That's quite a beautiful combination to see. You don't see the combination that often. At least not in these numbers. Yeah, that's about 21. 21 Corsairs. And 12 carriers. Carriers trying to catch those. Valkyries trying to catch those carriers out of position, but the carriers get relocated just in time. Valkyries hanging out in the back, ready to intercept those interceptors. Ooh, great disruption webs coming down there right on top of the static defense for Minchul. Minchul now goes in, knowing those carriers are a little bit safer, but the Valkyries get pulled back as well, trying to prevent the Corsair AoE damage from stacking up. Corsairs coming in once again. He's focusing on the Corsairs. Corsairs going down very quickly this time around. This time the Valkyries managed to beat the Corsairs, unlike last time. which means that this time Minchul manages to fight off Suddenwang for just a little bit longer, and Minchul is actually being very aggressive here, immediately sending his tanks out into the front there, which means that now the carriers are getting caught out of position for Suddenwang. All of his carriers are on low HP, have lost all of their shields, have lost most of their HP, and they're very slowly losing more HP as these interceptors go back into the carriers, with all the AoE damage coming in from those Valkyries, but he's pulling back now. Minchul's actually going on the offense, and he added Ghost into the mix. He has lockdown, he's got Ghost range on the way. Well, Ghost energy, it's not Ghost range. Wrong one. Minchul, Suddenwang is finally upgrading Singularity Charge for his Dragoons, so he's planning on switching some Dragoons into the mix. Instead of going for, he's like this completely decided to go against going Corsairs again. It worked once, but it's not going to work again, and he knows it. Because Minchul has been holding himself pretty well against those Corsairs with the carriers. This time around, ground mass is coming into the mix as well. Dragoons and Zealots almost fully upgraded, aside from having armor. They got shields and weapons. And there's honestly not all that much standing here for Minchul. Great disruption web coming down on those tanks, making it easier for his units to get in there. Units completely overrunning what Minchul has here in the front. Those Valkyries are pretty much rendered ineffective against all this ground mass, but he does manage to take down a couple of carriers, and now he's just focusing on the carriers instead. All the carriers are going down, he even gets the lockdown on one of the carriers, and he actually manages to fight off the carrier mass, but he's now being met with a huge ground mass that is already in his base. He doesn't have all that much to fight into it, because he can't even afford to rebuild most of his entire mass. He does have stuff in all of his factories, but his income is quite low. This one's not making anything. This one's not making anything either. Tanks spawning, but there's already Dragoons and Zealots right on top of those tanks. Tanks going down. And this looks, honestly, like a win for Suddenwang. Suddenwang playing really well-played protoss here. He failed to put the needed pressure on Minchul in the early stages of the game, but he managed to keep Minchul just small enough to be unprepared for those carriers. And he did manage to hold off those carriers quite well, but it cost him his main command center, which gave Suddenwang the opportunity to just overrun Minchul, because Minchul's income would be too small to sustain a good mass, a good macro. It was kind of a war of attrition where you just, well, you take away their main resource, and then you abuse the fact that their main resource has been, you know, limited or decreased. And he calls the GG, leaves the game. And that's a 1-0 for 458, aka Suddenwang, against JllllllllK, aka Minchul or *겐세이박. And that's, to a certain degree, a textbook protoss versus terran. It doesn't get much more textbook than this. And honestly, if Suddenwang had a little bit better target selection, which pretty much came down to gambling in my opinion, if his target selection had been a little bit better, the game would have ended way quicker. But that's just, to a certain degree, a little bit of luck, a little bit of bad luck for either player, but he managed to pull through. So yeah, I'm gonna go for game number 2 now, and see who wins game number 2. Will it be Suddenwang or will it be Minchul? Well, let's find out who will be the superior player. Even though I will admit protoss technically has an advantage in ability to win over Terran, but with some of these Korean monsters, that isn't always the case. Some players are definitely capable of beating protoss more often than they will lose to it. Even if it's against players at the level of 458, who, for context, there are occasions where 458 absolutely smashes gold SCV and JH, who I'll use as a reference point for how good some of these players are. For example, Minchul is one of those players who has managed this year to multiple times absolutely smash players like gold SCV in the best of 5 or best of 7, or smash JH in the best of 5 or best of 7, Well, that just goes as a testament to how good these two players are. You don't always notice the amount of skill when you're watching a replay, because most of the details kind of, you miss them unless you're watching a POV video. You kind of miss some of the details that they're pulling off. Or sometimes too much stuff is just going on at the same time and you can't always track everything that's going on. But this is quite interesting here. Minchul going for a +1 command center. Probably because he knows that 458 is going for a +1 nexus, which leaves him some room to go for a little bit of a riskier start with that +1 command center over going for a barrack first. Now adding on 2 barracks after the command center has been started. 3rd barracks probably as well, once he can afford it. But first he's going to use this one to just putting it in position because the SCV wouldn't finish in time. Now we can start the barrack before the other SCV finishes, which means no time wasted on gathering minerals or spending minerals. Joe coming down for 458. 2 cannons, nicely spread out. There's the gateway. I'm going to start with a single gas, or we're going to start with 2 gas. 2 gas it is. And I assume a cybernetic core is going to follow that gateway. Scouting the map. They did see each other, but both... Suddenwang knows that Minchul is probably here, but Minchul isn't exactly sure where Suddenwang could be. So he's going to the top side of the map instead of going to the bottom corner of the map, where Suddenwang is actually located. Not that it would really matter all that much, because he cannot get in. 2 cannons blocking the entrance there. Goes cross map first. He's going to scout this to chokes, because he knows that there have to be cannons. Like, kind of like deductive reasoning. Was there any pressure from Suddenwang? No. If there's no pressure from Suddenwang, it means he went for no gateways, or well, at least 1 gateway, but no gateway units. Which also means that there's going to be a cannon choke up for Suddenwang. Although he scouted the entire base in this part here. But you never know. I assume he's just going to scout the chokes. And if he's not, well, then he's a very diligent man who doesn't take any risks whatsoever. Because the situation might just occur that Suddenwang is going for something absolutely crazy. But I honestly think that 99% of the times, just scouting the chokes within this specific situation would yield the information that you need. Manage to pull back just in time. Probe to deal some additional damage, maybe even try to block the SCV, but failed. Another cannon coming down there in the front. And Minchul just taking his time, going through the motions of building all the things that he needs. There's the engineering bay, got stim upgrade on the way. No medics yet, maybe the next round of units are going to be medics. Factory coming out as well, pretty well timed. Marines moving out, ready to block the pathway here. Not going to let 458 get out of his base. And even gives him a little bit of a chance to maybe go for harass. He scans it. Because he sees there's 4 cannons there, so he immediately pulls back. He doesn't want any of that. Cancels the medics. Maybe he wasn't even making them. At least he's not making anything at the moment. 458 adding cannons to his main. To protect his minerals, adding 2 robotic facilities, just as in the last game. So we're kind of seeing somewhat of a repeat here. Same strategy. I assume he's going for carries as well, because he already placed the pylon here. Which means he's most likely going to build Stargates here after his mass drops have occurred and hopefully dealt damage to Minchul. There's the robotic support bay. Minchul once again moving out. Is he gonna go for? Is he gonna try to go for it? Well, given he's got no medics, I doubt he's gonna go for it. Just gonna keep them there as a distraction. He's gonna meet 2 zealots. 2 zealots kill the first marine. He stims them and he chases the zealot, and he loses a single marine to the cannons. But nothing he cannot afford to lose. Factory finishes up. Sangam Command Center on the way as well. He's got range on the way as well. Starting turrets on the sides there. Preparing himself for the inevitable, aka the shuttle drops. 2 Reavers on the way. Shuttle speed hasn't been started, hasn't finished. So that is an interesting one. Citadel of Adun on the way, and there's the 2 Stargates. As I mentioned, 2 Stargates. He's not going to go for massive gateways just yet. He's going to go for Stargates right after those drops. I mean, for carriers right after those drops. Shuttle trying to fly in on the bottom side here. He's just scouting. There's a Zealot in there, just in case any Marines were dropped here on the low ground, so we can drop the Zealot and kill the Marines on the low ground to deny Minchul vision. Minchul pulling back his Marines to his choke. Marines can walk through these little gaps here. I really like this configuration for the depots. Although he blocked himself out with this SCV there and this SCV there. So they cannot enter until they open this little opening here, like that. 2 starports coming down. Dropships or raids. Either of the two are options. Armory on the way as well. Very early armory. Tank on the way. Siege mode has finished, I assume. Factory there on siege mode is finished, as we can see right there. And now he's got 2 shuttles. No shuttle speed. Shuttle speed is still on the way. He's either gonna wait for the shuttle speed or he's gonna wait for the shuttle speed. Might as well. Although this does give Minchul a lot more time to go about building completely untouched, unpressured. 7 minutes in, no punches have been thrown, no damage has been dealt, other than those couple of Zealots here dying and 2 Marines dying as well. But aside from that, nothing has happened. But this is the calm before the storm. Never let the calm before the storm lull you into a false sense of security, because that false sense of security is going to come back and haunt you, and that Typhoon, ooh, it's gonna hit you hard. Alright, shuttle and a Reaver on the way. 2 Zealots there. Reaver's gonna finish up within seconds. We will have 3 shuttles loaded up with Reavers and Zealots. Only 2 Zealots in that one. Not completely filled out. But he's more worried about just getting his carrier tech up and running. Minchul playing it very, very safe, but doesn't want to take any risks, because those shuttle drops, if he goes aggressive, those shuttle drops could completely catch him off guard. Plus, Suddenwang has really, really great Reaver shuttle micro, which might throw a wrench into the plans that Minchul had if he were to go aggressive. He managed to take down a couple of shuttles, but 2 Reavers get unloaded. Reavers taking shots on those Marines there. Forces pulling back, shuttles pulling back. He managed to kill most of the Marines there. A lot of Marines, at least 20 Marines went down there, but he eventually just managed to take out both the Reavers and all the Zealots that were dropped there on the low ground. No serious damage sustained for Suddenwang. Suddenwang now scouting the base, getting himself information. Just checking how many turrets there are on the top side. Engineering base now hovering over on the hills, just like we see here. For that extended vision, extended buffer time, but also to give these turrets the ability to fire over the hills. Whereas they wouldn't, because they don't have vision on top of the hills, because they're on the low ground. So always on this map, lift up some engineering base on the side. Get yourself vision, prepare yourself for those drops, give yourself a little bit more leeway. Carriers are already on the way. Way earlier than last time around. He's not messing around this time. But his inability to deal any damage, he's tried 1 drop. 1 drop in 9 minutes. And I honestly think that this is the point where these Korean powerhouses start to become impenetrable defensively. Although he doesn't really have an answer for those carriers yet, but he's got them on the way. And by the time those carriers finish up, well, he'll be completely and entirely prepared for them. Because he's been keeping himself informed with those storms. Ooh, scans, I mean. Scans the front there, got information, sees a lot of Zealots. No speed on those Zealots yet, though. Alright, if he was still looking, he saw the speed finish up, but I assume that he would know that speed is gonna come up, given that there are so many Zealots. It would be entirely pointless to make so many Zealots and not have Zealot speed. So he knew it was gonna finish anyway. He's gonna load these up with Zealots and Reavers, and I assume he's gonna fly them in under the protection of the Interceptors, because he's already maxed out. He cannot make any more carriers, so no point waiting for more carriers. Might as well just use them now. Although it does mean that you're showing your cards to your opponent. But against Terran, you don't really have much of a choice, because all the scans kind of reveal your cards nonetheless, whether you want it or not. But he's keeping his carriers inside of his base. He's going to try to go for a frontal attack first. And it just so happens that there's only a couple of bunkers and tanks there in the front, which means that Minchul has to pull all the units to the front. Now the front is going to go down. He's going to fly in a drop as well. No, it's not drops, it's just shuttles. Those 3 Reavers there taking down the bunkers, taking down the depots. Zealots helping out. Zealots on 1 shield already. Shield upgrade, of course, is for both the carriers and the ground forces, but most for the carriers. Ooh, beautiful choice. He's completely ignoring the fortified location here on the bottom side of the map, and instead is going for the weak parts here on the top side of the map, because he got himself information with those shuttles, knowing exactly where Minchul had his units located. Minchul supply block. Ooh, he's even managing to clear out a lot of the tanks that are in the backline with the help of those zealots and the Reaver. But now Minchul managed to fight off all the units that Suddenwang sent in there. They take down his entire turret line there on the top side of the base, even forcing these two Starports to be lifted up, and the Starports are going to get repaired. He's even taking out a couple of more Goliath tanks here. And he actually managed to deal a really devastating hit to Minchul. But Minchul manages to stand tall and prevent any more damage. Mostly thanks to his SimCity, because it's very tough and difficult for anything really to get in there. Like, you can get like one single Zealot can enter into that stream or into this little window, and he's gonna load up a couple of tanks, drop them here next to the low ground, or on the low ground. He's gonna go for a tank drop. Now he's dropping them here on the low ground, just gonna make sure these cannons here on the side never get finished up. Great choice, even moving out here in the front. He definitely doesn't want those cannons from finishing, but Suddenwang is gonna make sure those cannons finish. Minchul now pulling his Goliaths back. He's already remaking his choke, but his choke has not finished. Suddenwang is not going aggressive here. He's just going to try to clear out all the units that Minchul is dropping all over the map here. Minchul going for a tank drop here right now. But neither of those tanks finish. Ooh! Neither of the 3 tanks that he dropped there managed to get a shot off on those probes. All the probes, all the 87 probes, all 4 of 8 staying alive. Alright, he's killing a block of Reaver. And honestly, I didn't expect 4 of 8 to not go for more carriers. I mean, not as many as he could go. He's going for 10 carriers here. Maybe that's all he needs. He's adding Corsairs into the mix now to take care of those Valkyries, as we saw in the previous game. Maybe he's going for a Disruption Web. Not too sure, but Minchul wants none of that. Suddenwang still needs a little bit of time. And Minchul knows that Suddenwang needs more time. And he's got a lot of factories already finished up in his base, so he's just going to go out and be aggressive here and push this midsection before all his cannons finish up. And do note, this is only 13 minutes into the game. And both players have been ramping up really, really quickly. Now he's going to push in over this portion of the map here. He might not get to these cannons before they finish up, so his cannons are going to finish up and delay timer for Minchul to reach this choke point here by just a little bit more. And Suddenwang moving out. But there's pretty much no air units on the map. There's a couple of Valkyries here. So those Corsairs, while initially a great idea, are not going to be doing all that much, because there's nothing hanging in the air here. The Valkyries are being held back inside of the base of Minchul quite well. He does have a lot of them, so once they do join the fray, they might just make the difference. As of yet, they're not making a difference. Now it's just Goliaths against carriers. Carriers are doing a great job flying around. Minchul is target firing on a carrier, but given there's only a couple of Goliaths, not doing all that much. More Corsairs have finished up. He's going for the exact same mix as in last game. 20 Corsairs, 10 or 12 carriers. You got a little bit more probes this time around, so 1 or 2 less carriers are here inside of his carrier mass, but it should be enough. Should be enough. Minchul is going for full-on Valkyries. And as we saw in the last game, it's either the Corsairs get to the Valkyries first, or the Valkyries get to the Corsairs first. But he's going for all of it at the same time, and all of his Valkyries are stacked up perfectly, which means that the Corsairs have no trouble taking down those Valkyries. Now carriers have a free path into the base, and there's pretty much nothing inside of the base here to protect. Oh, he's got a couple of Valkyries just finished up. And all the Corsairs have gone down there, but now he's going to get free fire on the main command center. The main command center is losing HP very, 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 very quickly. And we're going to get a repeat of the previous game, where Minchul loses his main command center to the carriers by Suddenwang. The quick carriers, only 30 minutes in the game and he had them. And the Valkyries did not manage to take down any of these carriers. All 10 carriers are still alive. Minchul is really, really bleeding out here, losing a lot of his SCVs now. Doesn't have the units to take down these carriers now. There's a single Valkyrie trying to be a hero, but a single Valkyrie is going to go down. Or it's going to get ignored. More Valkyries have finished up. Valkyries now entering the fray. And Suddenwang decides not to fight back. He decides to just let his carriers die. try to deal as much damage to the economy for Minchul as he can. Valkyries took them down, but he's focused here on the front now because Minchul decided to, hey, wait a second. You've got all your carriers in my base. That means I can go for the push. So we managed to take down most of the choke and the 3 cannons alive there in the choke. And this might be kind of like the game between Brain God and Hill Tank, where Minchul is going to go full aggressive after losing his main command center and is just going to lowball it on his Goliaths and tanks. Can he make it work? Or would it fail? That's one of the things I'm wondering about. He did manage to take out all the scans. No scans have been remade, which means his Dark Templar here is going to wreak absolute havoc. But Minchul is trying to protect the turret. He's placed all of his units around the turret, but his SV does go down before the turret finishes, which means that now he has to pull back the turret at 194 HP. Now the tanks, Goliaths pulling back, still no detection here in the front. He's going to have to rely on those turrets there on the sides there, which means these Dark Templars can deal a little bit more damage to his Goliaths and tanks. Single Goliath has gone down. I saw a couple of other units go down as well. Nothing too serious, but he's got vessels on the way now. With 4 vessels on the way because he knows he doesn't have scans. He's not remaking the scans even. He's going to rely entirely on those vessels, which might be cutting it a little bit short in the corner. Because there's a huge mass here on the middle of the map, ready to spread out and get a surround on the units of Minchul. But Minchul has a lot of Goliath and tanks there. Tanks are also have upgrades, better upgrades than those Zealots. Zealots don't have armor. They do have shields, but only level 1 weapons. Whereas his tanks are on 2-3, Goliath and 2-3 as well, because they share upgrades. Carriers on the way for Minchul, for Suddenwang. And actually this might just work in favor of Minchul. Either Minchul's going to have to pull off a miracle. I mean, Fort Vivada's going to have to pull off a miracle here to fight this off, because this is quite a large mass here. It's got a lot of Goliaths, a lot of tanks, and no Valkyries, which means it's focusing entirely on tanks and Goliaths to go for the push here. And the carrier mass count is honestly too small for Suddenwang, but Suddenwang does have a small bit of ground mass in the mix as well. He's got Corsairs to take care of those air units. There's no air unit, so I think he's going to go for disruption webs on those tanks and Goliaths to try and push Minchul back. He's now even making Archons because, well, the Archons die instantly. Minchul is pretty much just making Goliaths. He's banking on keeping those tanks alive. So honestly, you don't need that many tanks. You need only like 8 or 9 tanks if you want to push a protoss in effectively. As long as you can keep those Goliaths in there, keep those tanks alive and focus on the carriers, that should all just be completely dandy. He's going for the vessels. So indeed it is a little bit risky, but he remade the scan so he can start scanning. Once he loses those vessels, Storm's coming down on those tanks. He lost a couple of tanks. Now the Goliaths trying to take care of those carriers, but the carriers are up on the hill here. You can barely see them. As you can see here, you cannot see those carriers up on the hill, which means he has to focus entirely on the interceptors, and those interceptors are not dying quick enough for those Goliaths to deal significant damage. He throws down a scan on the carriers, now starts focusing on the carriers. The carriers immediately pull away. Nexus here in the front, slowing Minchul down. This is going to be the hour of truth. Carriers once again undetected up on the hill, but they're flying it into vision, but immediately pull back. And Minchul is trying his hardest, microing backwards a little bit by bit by bit. Those Zealots on the low count there dealing damage to those Goliaths. Goliaths don't deal all that much damage against ground forces, but just enough. What really matters for these Goliaths is the Hellfire missile pack with the Karen boosters upgrade. But now he's waiting for tanks. He's got 4 tanks on the way. His economy is still in tatters, but he's managing to hold in there. He's not going to be hitting 200 anytime soon, but he's got quite a mass. But is it big enough? That's the question. Once again, carriers on the high ground. And there come the disruption webs. That means he has to pull back those Goliaths, so those disruption webs are absolutely messing him up. And he placed those disruption webs quite well. Now he has to move forward, but it means that he's going to have to move into the storm range, and those Zealots getting under on those tanks as well. Corsair still there, effectively shutting down air options. And he's now managing to fire on those Goliaths, on those carriers with the Goliaths. And honestly, most of the Call of Carriers went down. But he managed to dwindle the numbers of Minchul. Minchul's supply count has gone down from 160 to 150. 147, 145. So very slowly he's whittling him down. reducing the army size of Minchul. But Minchul is honestly fighting really well. Stood a stepping forward while focusing on those carriers. But as I've mentioned before, will it be enough? Tanks gonna be sieging up. Suddenwang relocates his carriers back up on the hill. 8 carriers in total. He's now going for more ground forces, more storms. And there's another disruption right on top of the tank. Means the tanks can no longer push the front here. But the Goliaths are doing quite a good job in taking down those interceptors. But he cannot really fire on the carriers themselves. Which is the main part here. That's the main thing that is really messing Minchul up. The inability to focus on the carriers themselves thanks to these hills here. And he has not remade a vessel, has not made a wraith or anything whatsoever to give himself vision on top of the hills. He's relying on his scans, but his scans are not coming out quick enough because he only got 3 scans, and scans don't last all that long. And actually, he's now gaining ground. He's actually gaining ground on Suddenwang. Suddenwang is being pushed back very slowly, bit by bit. At least 30 Goliaths here in this corridor. But it's gonna have to come down to amazing disruption weapon. No disruption weapons are coming down, but he did take down all the tanks. It means that Minchul actually got dropped here. Minchul got dropped. Oh, Minchul got dropped. I missed it. I was so focused on the colors. It's kind of hard to see the colors. Like you can see it here on the minimap. I should have done this. It's way easier to see. Way easier to see. Anyway, I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit. I want to see the drop happening. Minchul was honestly fighting that situation really, really well. But Suddenwang was holding him back really, really well as well. Both players played really well. That honestly came down to Minchul stacking up all his Valkyries when trying to defend against those carriers. Giving those Corsairs of amazing free damage on those Valkyries. And the Corsair damage is quicker than the Valkyrie damage, which caused them all to die instantly. Alright, so let's play. Where is the drop? Drop. Find the drop. You gotta have shuttles somewhere. It's gonna happen soon. Just gonna speed it up a little bit. Great fight happening here. Absolutely great fight. He's playing on so much APM. So much APM there. It goes to show how much control he's putting into this. So where is that shuttle? Alright, here's the shuttle. The loading up happened just inside of my peripherals. They loaded up the shuttle, 3 Templars in total. And there's only a single tank here as protection. And he doesn't have scan energy. He has a lot of scan energy actually. That's a lot of scan energy, but I assume he didn't hotkey it. He hotkeyed this one. He didn't hotkey this one. He might have hotkeyed this one, but I'm not too sure. Drop coming in over the bottom side. Completely uncontested. And there's the storm. There's the second storm. No third storm because he killed his own Templar. He kills all the SCVs we have here in this area. At least this little area here on the minerals. No SCVs left on the minerals. Only a couple of SCVs left here on the gas. But definitely not enough to sustain this push here. Even considering he just lost his tanks. So it means that pretty much a stalemate situation here. Just Goliaths fighting against interceptors. Which means Goliaths are going to go down. Because the carriers are protected here on the hill. Yeah, no way to come back from that drop. Really, really, really well played from Suddenwang. This goes to show why 458 is one of the best protosses. Even in a scenario where he fails to do all that much damage in the early stages of the game, he can still just completely screw you over with pretty much great timing. Like the entire strategy that he does is entirely dependent on dealing a little bit of damage with your drops and then hitting your target or your opponent right out of the blue with those carriers. I mean, the opponent knows the carriers are coming, but whether they can produce the right amount of units and the correct units, of course, in response to the carriers, that's up to debate. Because carriers are coming out very, very quick. Anyway, that's the game. Thanks for watching. I know I wanted to showcase Minchul, but he ended up losing in both games. was more or less a showcase for Suddenwang's strategy, really, because this is a really solid strategy. And more people have been adopting this specific strategy for protoss in Korea, because it just pretty much hits the Terran at all the weak points, specifically the timings and transitions that a Terran can do to transition into either one or the other build. It really hits all the right spots. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you next time.